Hey ladies, welcome to month 3 of Be More. I am super excited to get started with you on month 3 because we've got some really juicy stuff coming. So month 3, as you can see, is all about market research and promotion, okay? What I want you to know right now is whether you have been through any kind of coaching program in the past, whether you already feel very confident that you know your client who you're speaking to, market research is a critical part of the process. And it is something that I skipped time and time again until it became very clear to me that if I wasn't doing it and I wasn't selling and I had this very expensive hobby, that I needed to change something. So even if right now you feel like you know your ideal client, you know who she is, I want you to just be aware of the fact that this can always develop and change and refine, and that market research is critical, especially if you have a program which perhaps hasn't sold. Maybe you have put out a program or an offer and it hasn't sold. Potentially, if you are creating your first ever product or program and you haven't got any testimonials, it will be critical to do market research, because what you want to ensure is that what you create and take to market, people want to buy. So right now I am going through market research myself because I am looking to Be More is like my Mac Daddy program. Okay, it is the signature program. It is the program that if every, in like ideal world, every single person comes in, my ideal client will always end up in Be More. And so I look to do market research because I want to refine it. I want to make sure that not only am I offering what people need, but as I develop my voice and my message, I want to make sure that I am serving people with exactly what they need. The other amazing part of doing market research is when you get people on the phone, and you can do it like this via Zoom. When you get people on the phone, you can record the call, obviously tell them or make them aware of the fact that you want to do this first, and they always say yes. But when you record the call, you can go back and listen to it. You can hear or see, because maybe when you're on the call, you don't necessarily notice everything, especially if you're taking notes. When you go back and you look at this, you will be able to see the frustration in her voice, the head in her hands when she's talking about not making any sales. You will be able to see how, or hear in her voice, how that changes when she talks about this program or this failed launch or her email list or whatever it is that she is struggling with. You will be able to hear when your ideal client talks about that. Okay, so obviously examples I used are relative to business coaching, but you will be able to, with your business, hear and see when your ideal client is frustrated, what their reaction is to a certain task or something that's happening in their life or in their world, right? And you will also find that when you look back, you will pick up certain words, right? So you might hear them repeat a word, a descriptive word, over and over and over again. You will be able to use this language in your copy. Not only will you be able to use this language in your sales pages, in your emails, but you'll be able to use it when you talk. You'll be able to talk to them because you are using their language. So you want to become very, very comfortable with the idea of getting people on the phone. And my experience with market research, when I put out posts, and I'm going to be sharing with you my template, but when I put out posts and ask women to come and join me and do this market research, and I make it about them rather than about me. So I make it about what they're going to get, which is they're going to get 30 minutes of free coaching. I have filled my books both times. So I did market research back in April, and I went, and I was shocked how many women were like, yep, I want to do it. This time I had people actually messaging me saying, hey, I saw that you were doing this. I didn't comment, but do you have space? Can I do this for you? People want to be helpful, right? People want to be helpful. And so when you give them this offer where you are making it about them and their business or their life or their whatever, and you are going to help them solve a problem that they're struggling with right now, you are going to be serving them free content. You're going to be showing them how valuable you are, and you're also going to use this as a way to really define who it is you want to work with, right? Because sometimes when you get on these phone calls, there will be some people you get on the phone with and you're just like, no, like you are not my ideal client. And don't be frustrated by that. It's a really, really critical piece of the learning curve to be able to get on the phone with someone, hear them talk, hear their struggles, hear their concerns, hear their barriers and their blocks and all of these different things. And it will be very obvious to you. There will be some, we are women, we kind of come from this emotional place, and you will be able to hear and feel like you just know, right? This person isn't for me. And you become, as you do this, you become much stronger at being able to say, yeah, so long, right? In a really nice way, but you're much more able to define who your ideal client is. So the first thing I want to talk about is how you need to master your customer journey, right? And ensure that your entire process makes sense and is irresistible for your clients. When we look at our customer journey, it must make sense. And that might seem really, really obvious, okay? Well, of course, it has to make sense, right? But it doesn't need to make sense for you as the business owner. It needs to make sense for your potential clients. One of the mistakes that I have seen women fall into over and over again is creating these things, right? It's like, I know what I do. I know who I kind of know who I serve, and I'm just going to create things. I'm just going to create tons of shit. And so first couple of years of business, especially if you've gone through any kind of DIY or group coaching, you are taught about email lists and lead magnets and opt-ins, right? What I want you to I want to kind of filter down that information. And I don't want you creating a shit ton of stuff, because all that's going to happen is you're going to have a ton of half-hearted projects. I want you to create one thing, or if you've already created it, I want you to refine one thing that you feel super, super passionate about, something that truly helps your clients. Now, the importance here is that it makes sense. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a piece of paper and a pen, or do it in your Google Drive. I want you to, at the top of the page, write down what is your Mac Daddy program or offering, right? So for some of you, you might only have one offering. Just put that at the top of the page. So for me, mine is Be More, okay? I'm going to show you what this looks like on screen. So let me just open up a new document. There we go. Okay, so the top of my screen, that is very small. Right, so the top of my page is Be More, okay? That is it's one-to-one, it's one-to-one, it is my Mac Daddy program. Now, everything else I create in my business needs to filter down from that. So you've already looked at your business, and I've asked you already to, if you haven't done this, now would be a really great time to do it, to look at the pillars of your business. What are the pillars? What are the things that you help your clients do? Not the finer details, not how you help them do it, not like, I help my clients with mindfulness and we do this through journaling prompts and we do this by waking up at this time every day and meditating, right? I don't want you to write that. Very, very general pillars of your business, right? So for example, mine would be productivity. I'm just ignore my spelling if there's any mistakes. Time consciousness, a word that I always mess up. Oh, I spelled it. Business solutions and batching. Okay, so those would be four of my pillars, right? Productivity, time consciousness, business solutions, and batching. They are the four. Now, it doesn't mean they're the only things I can help my clients do, and business solutions is fairly broad, but they are the overall four things I help my clients do inside of my business, okay? So when people come to me, those are the four things that they know me for, right? I'm going to help you become really conscious of the time you have. I'm going to help you order your time. I'm going to help you with your schedule. When it comes to productivity, I'm going to help you be more productive in the time you already have, not having to do more. I'm going to help you scale and make profit using productivity. Business solutions, for example, market research, any promotions, launch strategies, those are the business solutions I offer. But you can see where I'm going with this. I'm not being super, super specific at this point. I'm sharing with you my four pillars of my business. Now, underneath these pillars, you're going to list out, if you haven't already done this, I encourage you to do it now. You're going to list out all of the things that you can think of that you talk about underneath each of these pillars, okay? So you're going to go through the pillars and you're going to list out everything you talk about. So under, for example, productivity, I might talk about the Pomodoro technique. I might talk about time batching. That's also going to come under my batching header. I might talk about setting your priorities every month, mini goals, celebrating before you evaluate, how to audit your business, all these different things that I do to help you to become more productive. You're going to list out all of these kind of subcategories underneath. Now that you have these 4 pillars, what I want you to think about is your customer journey needs to make sense. So if everything you talk about in your business is about productivity, time consciousness, business solutions, and batching, then in Be More, when I talk about Be More, my promise and my copy needs to link to these things, right? And it does. It links to how I'm going to make you more productive, how I'm going to make you more profit through productivity, how I'm going to help you plan for profit, how I'm going to give you back more time. And so everything that I then talk about in my business is always coming from these 4 pillars, sorry. And I'm always talking about that because it is a splinter of my program. Now, obviously below Be More, I have other offerings. I have VIP days, 90-minute intensives. Those things are also other splinters of my pillars. So what I want you to do is think about your customer journey. If I were to go and opt in to a freebie of yours or a lead magnet, what is the journey? What kind of journey are you taking me on? Am I just going to get an email with this opt-in and done and bye, and suddenly I'm getting weekly emails from you? Or are you nurturing me on a sequence? This is so, so important. The nurturing and the sequence of events after somebody opts into your lead magnet, your opt-in, your freebie, whatever you want to call it. The sequence after that is so, so critical. And so you need to ensure that it makes sense. So one of the mistakes that I see quite often is that we create this offer or this opt-in, and that's a lot of work in itself. And we do all of that, and then we kind of forget about the bit afterwards, right? But there has to be a follow-up sequence. There has to be a series of emails in every single one of your opt-ins. And what you can do is give away even more. So on that journey that let's say you're in the health and fitness space and I opt into, 10 workouts, right? You're going to promise me 10 HIIT workouts. And in the initial email, I get the 10 HIIT workouts and that's it. I've got 10 workouts, but I'm getting nothing else from you. You're assuming that people are going to come back to you. They're not. So what you need to do is follow up. In that initial email, you want to make sure that you are telling them you're going to be in touch with them tomorrow. Right? You're going to check in with them, see how they're getting on, right? And so the next day day after, you're going to send another email, and that email is going to be like, hey, as promised, just wanted to check in. Have you checked out your workouts yet? Remind them of the link. And you're going to take them through this journey. And you have to give them what they want before you give them what they need. Most people do not know what they need. Right? Most people do not know what they need. They know what they want, but they don't know what they need. Or they don't know that they need it yet, right? That's the other thing, right? They don't know that they need it yet. So you want to make sure that when you take customers on this journey, there is a journey, that you are nurturing them and that it makes sense. Don't tell me in the first email that you're going to send me tips about workouts and then you're suddenly telling me stuff about nutrition. That doesn't make sense. If you want to segue into nutrition, you need to make that segue. You cannot just go from one to the other because that just completely removes the trust. I've come to you for workouts and now you're telling me about vegetables, right? That doesn't make sense. So you want to make sure that in that first email, you're very, very clear on what the journey is, when you're going to be checking in with them again. I'm going to share the template that I use with you, but you want to make sure they know when you're going to check in again, where to click. It's not obvious. People need to know. Tell them very clearly where to click to download their freebie or whatever it is they've opted in for. And then you want to make sure that in this email, you tell them a bit about you, but you're very, very specific and clear on who you work with. So I know that we have done this ideal client exercise. And so I want you to, use this kind of language when you're talking about who you help. Be very clear and specific in that first email. It's not, let's use the health and fitness industry as an example. It's not, hey, I'm Melanie and I train women on how to become stronger. So do you and 12 million other people, right? So probably not 12 million, but a lot of other people. What you want to do is very specifically tell them who you help. And you also want to say in that first email, here's who I don't help. Okay, if you've ever opted into one of my freebies or lead magnets, that's what I do in my first email. I'm very clear. This is who I help. This is who I don't help. If you are the person that I don't help, totally cool, but you feel free to unsubscribe, because I wouldn't want to clog up your inbox with information you don't want or need. It's that simple. And you are giving them permission. You don't want people to go through this sequence if they are not your ideal client, right? What's the point? Right? There's no point in getting super excited because 300 people opt in, but then actually there's only like 2 of them that are even your ideal client. You want to, from the very, very beginning, be clear on who it is. And most people aren't going to unsubscribe, because the way you do this, the language you use, people are going to go, well, yeah, I'm totally that person. So you want to be very clear, okay? That customer journey must make sense, okay? So you want to take your Mac Daddy program, put it at the top, or your offering, and then you're going to look at those pillars, and everything else that you do should make sense. So your opt-in or your lead magnet or your freebie, let's just call them opt-ins, right? But for the sake of that, they're all the same thing. But your opt-in should be encompassing one of these pillars. As you grow and scale in your business, you want to try and have an opt-in that comes under each of your pillars. The reason being, and we'll get to that soon, is about email marketing and how to take your clients through this email marketing sequence. But for now, I want you to choose the one that most excites you, the one that you feel most inspired to write about and create. Maybe it's one that you have an idea about. You want to do that first. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, message me, let me know, or come into the Facebook group, or we'll talk about it on our next call. So the second thing that I want to talk about today is using proven strategies to gain valuable feedback from prospective clients on your offer so you can refine, create, and sell out with confidence. Okay, so this is market research. Okay, so the market research, as I've said, and I will repeat it over and over again, because I didn't do market research in my first year of business. I was told about it. There was a whole module in the program that I did, and I didn't do it. And then I've spoken to so many women in the last year, and they didn't do it either. They didn't do market research. And we're all sitting here wondering why it was we weren't getting any clients. And this is why. Because oftentimes clients will say no. And one of the reasons is because as the business owner, as the coach or the service-based entrepreneur, we have a bit of ego about what it is we do. We love what we do. And so it's really easy for us to talk about it. And we just assume that people are going to get it, right? We assume that people are going to understand, they're going to get it. And so we try to tell them all about what we do, but we don't realize that they maybe don't care that much. And so we need to do the market research so that we know exactly what it is they care about. What is it they're struggling with, right? What is it that, what is it that they feel right now? So if you are struggling with your ideal client avatar, if you're struggling to know when people say to you, you should know her before and after, right? And I'm going to share with you a little way to do this before and after. But if you feel like you're struggling with the before and after of your ideal client, like this is where they are right now before they work with you, and this is what they feel like afterwards, if you struggle with that, market research is critical. They literally tell you, right? You ask them questions and they just tell you. They will tell you about their biggest struggles, their biggest fears, even when you don't ask, because you are holding space for them and they want to tell you because they want you to help them, right? They literally want you to help them. So you want to use the market research as the opportunity to get this feedback from them. You're not going to ask questions like, what are you struggling with? You're going to tell them about the program that you're offering, right? You're going to tell them features and the benefits of the program, what the point of the program is, and a little bit about what you do. And the idea is that you then ask a series of questions about the program. So you are getting valuable feedback, like how much would you price this? How much, what price point would you put this program in? What do you think of the length of time of the program? If you're running an 8-week program, do people genuinely want 8 weeks? Do people want 4 weeks? Do people want 12 weeks, right? You ask questions so that you get the answers. You're not going to necessarily get the answers you want, and that's okay, because if everyone says to you, actually, I think 12 weeks would be better, you change it to 12 weeks, right? Whether or not you want to, you change it. If everyone is saying 12 weeks, no, why 8 weeks? 8 weeks isn't enough time, right? So you would make sure you use the questions. I know, as I said, I'm going to share the template with you, but you want to make sure that you are asking questions that are relevant to your business and that you are then getting the information that you need to make the decision. Is this the program that I'm going to create and take out to market and serve my clients with, or do I need to refine it before I take it to market? Okay, now the third thing I want to talk about is how to create and promote your free content whilst drawing in your ideal clients and weeding out those who are just not the right fit. So we've done the ideal client exercise where we look at your core values and also your clients' core values. But what I want you to really think about is how you create and promote this free content, okay? Going back to these pillars, as I said, everything you create should be splintered off of these pillars. Now, I've had some women say to me that they have got into this habit of creating something new every single month. I do not want you doing that. You do not need to create a new opt-in or a new challenge or a new freebie or a new program every single month. I would rather you get really, really great and perfect your voice with one thing. Because when you perfect the one thing, right, you then get more and more feedback from those clients, right? You get known for that one thing. People know you for that. And then those clients will grow with you. And then when they're asking for the next thing, then you can create it. But the issue I have with this constantly creating more and more stuff is it becomes really confusing, right? Naming all these different products and programs and services, creating all these things, it becomes really, really confusing for your ideal clients. And so there is something to be said for just refining one thing, one product, one program, one service, one offer, one freebie, all these things, just refining it. And the other things that you have created, these are the things that you will drip feed in as you nurture your clients or these potential clients in your email sequences, okay? So you're not going to just give them one thing and run. You're going to give them one thing and then you're going to give them more stuff for free. So I really, really want you to think about these pillars if you haven't already done it, because it's going to be critical for you to be able to refine or create your opt-ins. It's also really important that you know what your pillars are so that when you talk on social media and splinter this off, you are going to have a really clear process of what you're talking about, okay? If you look at my my social media feed, more often than not, I'm talking in some way about productivity. I'm talking about business. I feed it in various ways. I thread it in all these different ways. Now, one final thing I wanted to talk about before I sign off today is this strategy that I've been using in my business, which is a post-it content strategy. Now, initially when I heard it on a webinar, and initially when I heard, not a webinar, a podcast, and initially when I heard it, the idea was that you would use this strategy for creating a program. Now, I don't do DIY programs, so I actually have adapted it and used it for creating my opt-ins if it's a webinar or a masterclass or something like that. You could also use it, or will use it, if you're doing a DIY program. So I'm hoping you're going to be able to see the idea of what I'm doing behind me. I'm not going to write all the post-its because it's a waste of post-its. But the first thing you want to do is take a post-it and you want to write the name of your product or program or offer that you're creating. So for example, I'm hosting a webinar at the end of August. So my first post-it would be my webinar name, right? And you're going to stick it on the wall. Then you want to, on the left-hand side, you want to write on the post-it what your ideal client's problem is, right? What is their problem? What is it they're struggling with? And you're going to stick that underneath on the wall. On the other side, remember that the wall is opposite to you. On the other side, you're going to write what your promise is, okay? So you're going to have the name of the product, service, or webinar, or whatever it might be. You're going to have the problem on the left and the promise on the right. And so you're going to write down the promise. What is it you're promising them? So for example, on my webinar, it's a rinse and repeat method to make consistent 4-figure months and get back more time, okay? Underneath this, you are going to then do the before and after of your ideal clients. So I want you to then take the post-it and write down a series of the emotions and feelings and how they're feeling right now, before they go to your webinar, before they join your product, program, or service. How are they feeling, right? And that can be more than one post-it, depending on how big your post-its are and how much you write. And you're going to put these underneath the problem. Underneath the promise, you're going to write out all the things they're going to feel and have achieved after they've worked with you, right? Or after they've spent that time with you. And then what you want to do is write out your lessons. So for a webinar, there's going to be 3 lessons that I'm going to teach on the webinar, and each one has a header. So business model audit, batching, launch formula. Okay, so my 3 headings are just underneath, and then underneath that, you're going to write out the sub lessons. So this is very similar to what I was talking about, the pillars and then the splinter. The pillar would be your lesson, right? So my lesson is I'm going to take them through a lesson on business model auditing, right? But that's not just, I'm not just going to say you need to audit your business model. I'm going to teach them or coach them through that, right? And that's what I'm going to write the actual lessons of what it is I'm going to teach them. And for a webinar, I'm doing 3. So it's going to be like a 3x3. So they're going to have 3 lessons, and underneath each lesson is 3 sub lessons. Okay, that makes sense. So that's how I'm doing my webinar. But I want you to use the same strategy. If you are struggling with your before and after, do that, right? Write down your ideal client, and then underneath do the before and after on the post-it. So you've got a very visual way of seeing what they're struggling with, okay? And if you're doing a webinar or a product or a program or a service, you can use this same strategy, okay? So if you have any questions or you need any help with this, just let me know. I will try and take a photo of what mine looks like on the wall and share it with you so you can see the actual visual of how it's laid out. But that's it. We're into month 3. The other thing I wanted to just mention is that right now it's the beginning of August. We are 1 month already through quarter 3. We're a couple of months into Be More. And I want you to just really look back at the last couple of months. Reflect on everything you've achieved. Just joining the program in itself was such a success for you, such an achievement. I want you to reflect on that and celebrate before you start evaluating, before you start thinking about what you need to do next. Now, I want you to also go back to those goals that you set for the next quarter. So for quarter 3, I want you to look at those goals and really remind yourself and look at what is going to move the dial in your business over the next 90 days. So that on the next coaching call, you are ready to dive into that. We can talk about strategy, but also talk about how you're going to make sure that your mind is right so that you can get those clients and those consistent 4-figure months. So I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Have a great day, and I will catch up with you very, very soon.